Still not high enough. "78 rafters cut. Ready to go." Hey folks, so today is rafter day, and I've been pretty excited about doing this until I started doing it, and then it got tough. Like I said in my previous videos, I didn't know how I was going to get up to the height, because it's from the peak to the floor is about 17 feet, something like that. So I didn't have any equipment on hand to be able to reach up that high, and I'm doing everything here by myself, so I have to be even more precautious than just trying to work off of ladders and stuff like that. So I went ahead and got started. I'll go ahead and show you what I've been doing so far. So as you can see, I rented this scissor lift, Snorkle scissor lift, brand name Snorkle, but I rented it from Lowe's. So and it has a platform height of 19 feet, so it's perfect. But I mean, this is my first time ever using this scissor lift, so I've got to get my legs right. When I get up pretty high, it's a little bit shaky, but it's not too terribly bad. Once you get used to it, it's pretty handy. It took me a while to figure out how to drive it. It runs off of one lever, and then you have to run a switch to either go up or down or to drive it. So you just have to keep remembering to flip the switch. And then there's little toggle buttons on top of the joystick to turn the front wheels to let you steer it around. So I got it in place. So really all I should have to do for the moment is just go forwards and backwards. I had a hard time, I'll go ahead and show you. I had a hard time getting the ridge up by myself. I needed to be in two places at one time. I needed to be able to hold it on the ridge pole on the outside, and then bring it up and hold it up out here. But I wasn't able to do that, obviously. So what I did is I just took some long 2x6s, scabbed them together, ran them from wall to wall, and then ran a sort of a ridge pole, makeshift ridge pole, from the floor all the way up, screwed it in to the cross brace, and that made everything pretty stable. And that held the ridge up to where I could get up there and make sure it was level, get it in the right place and everything. So it's plumb, it's straight, it's plumb from the center up all the way up. So I should be in good shape. And turns out I was. When I started putting the rafters up, they fit like they should. So, which tells me that the ridge is in the right place. But so now I'm just I've got the two outside, these two rafters up, and the four rafters on the outside. I have those all nailed in place. So now what I'm going to do in the interest of time is just bring my rafters up, nail them off to the ridge board in the middle, and work on those first. Now that everything's nailed in place, it's pretty stable. So I'll just nail the rest of them in place at the ridge board, and then bring it down, and then either bring the lift over here. It would be a lot easier. It's not that easy to drive around though. I mean, it takes a little maneuvering. So I'll either get on a ladder and then nail it off to the wall, or use the lift. It would be a lot easier if I could run the lift down the wall and just nail them off. That'd be really easy. But so for now, I'm just going to work on these rafters here in the middle. I've only had this one ridge board up, so I'll get this section up, and I'll move on to the next section. And I may have to continue to bring this cross piece over and to the rest of the building to help hold up the new end of the ridge beam. I don't know yet. I'll figure that out when I get there. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and nail these up, and I'll show you how I'm getting that done. So these rafters are 16 inches on center. They're 2x6s, so that meets the code for span and all that. I originally was going to do them 2 foot on center, but after looking at the joist table code, span table code, turns out I needed to put them 16 inches on center, so that's what I went and did. I'll just speed this along. You don't really want to watch every one. Maybe I'll just put on time lapse and just watch them go up really fast. So went ahead and marked out for the next ridge beam, or ridge board, actually. Just pulled 16 inches from the ends all the way down, and then I marked both sides, the line, and then set ahead, and that's the edge of the rafter all the way down. And then when I got to the end, this is the edge of the rafter, and then it'll set ahead, so I'm going to cut it at 3/4, and that way half of this ridge beam will end here, and the new ridge beam will land on a rafter. So here's what I was talking about, having the everything's operated by one joist. So you have this switch here, that's for the lift when it's toggled that way, and that's to drive it. So when you have it this way, you can move the forward. There's a safety switch here. Well, see, you have this toggle this way, and it's drive. So you pull the safety trigger, which is inside the handle, and you push it forward, and it goes forward. Or backwards. And then you have these little toggle buttons here that spins the wheels like that. And then when you're ready to lift it, flip the switch and you pull back for up, and then off we go. Not that high. All right, so then I'm going to try to set this new ridge beam here, ridge board. I keep saying beam, it's a board, not a beam. So in order to attach the new ridge beam, starting here, and it's going to go over there and land on that temporary brace, I just scabbed a little 2x4 underneath here with a couple screws, and that way the beam can set on top of there, and that'll hold that in, and then I can hold it up by this end, or use the temporary upright to hold that end of the ridge board up, and then put a couple of rafters up, and then I'll hold it in place. So that's what I'm going to do now. And so now I can go ahead and fill in with the rest of the rafters for this section and then move on. And then I'll remove this temporary brace that's just sitting there. That just holds the other end of the board up, and I'll move it on further down to hold up the next one when it's time. They're coming along pretty good. I got 4 more to do here, and then the very last section. So it got dark on me last night, so I had to stop. Had just this section to finish up. So about 10 more rafters to put up, and then all the rafters will be done. So then after that, I need to go back and install the collar ties. So I'll finish these rafters, I'll work on the collar ties, and then if there's still time left on my rental, I'll run down the edges and put the rafter ties up, because that'll make it a lot easier than having to get up and down from the ladder to put those up. So that's gonna be my plan. Oh, and also I need to frame in these gable walls. So actually, I'm gonna do the collar ties, the rafters, the collar ties, the gable walls, and then the rafter ties. The rafter ties will be last. If I can fit that in, then that's what my plan will be. Let's see if I can get it done. So I'll just time lapse this last section. You've seen me do about 70 others, so I'll just zip through this one, and then we'll start with the collar ties. And I'll see you back in a minute. All right, so I got all the rafters in place, at least tied into the ridge. I still need to go down the wall and tie most of them into the wall. But while I'm in the center, working in the middle, I'm gonna go ahead and put the collar ties in. And so what I'm doing is, you know, the code says they have to be in the upper third of the rafters and no more than 4 feet apart. So I've measured down to where the upper third would be, and nailed the collar ties to the rafters on each side, and that helps keeps the rafters from, you know, spreading out down at the bottom. So so now I'm just using regular 8-foot 2x4s to do this, and I'm not even having to cut them, which is handy. But so I'm just pulling down, you know, from the ridge to get my measurement. I should pull a chalk line all the way to the other end, but this lift, the battery is running dead, and I'm trying to use it as little as I need while it's charging. So so here's what I've got going on here. I've got my mark for the next collar tie, and it'll be 4 feet from the previous one, and I'll tack it there, put a level on it, and then nail the other side, put 5 nails in each side. I got the collar ties all up, nailed. Look like they're all pretty straight and in line. The very first one down at the very end, the far end, might be a little bit high. I think it'll be all right. So it'll be fine. It's not gonna be a finished ceiling or anything, and even if it did, I could work around it. Even if this were a finished ceiling, I think I would probably just box these out and then finish the ceiling around it. And so these would be, the collar ties would be exposed. I think that'd probably look pretty cool if I ever did finish it up. So who knows? But so that's it for the collar ties. So now I'm working on the gable wall over here. Just putting studs along 16 inches, which will line up with the studs of the wall. So to make this a little easier, what I'm doing is I'm using a Bosch plumb blob laser. And I'm putting the laser right on my mark, and then I can look straight ahead. And if you can see it, that's my plumb line. And then I've marked that, and then went ahead and measured it, and I'm just making notes of all the measurements as I go, so I can cut a few at a time, and then I'll nail it in place. But this Bosch plumb blob laser, man, that thing is the trick. It works great. Keeps me having to get a plumb stick out, level out. In many circumstances, those, you know, my 6-foot level won't be long enough, but you know, this is easier work with anyway. So I'm cutting these on a 30-degree angle because that's the slope of this roof. It's a 7/12 pitch, which is 30 degrees. So I took my measurement, nailed it in place here. Well, I haven't nailed that one in place yet. And then you'll see it fits right in line up there. And I'll knock it over, but right now, just holding it in place. Just holding it in place, that's pretty good. So I've put 3 up so far. I've nailed the bottoms. So now we're gonna go up and nail the tops. There we are. So I can do this with one hand. I can't do that with one hand. I only need 2 hands for that one. All right, that's the gable walls framed in on both ends. That side too. Need to go get that brace down. You can stay. I'll leave it up till I get the sheeting on. But so now, while I still have some time on the rental, I think I'm going to run down the sides, nail the rafter tails off, and put the rafter ties on. These are rafter ties, hurricane straps. This part nails to the wall. This part nails to the side of the rafter, and that prevents wind uplift from getting in here and turning this thing into a big umbrella or a sailboat and taking off with it. That's what it's supposed to do anyway. I don't think we'll really get that kind of wind here, but you know, could happen, I guess. So that's what I'm gonna be doing now. I'm gonna nail off the rafters that didn't get nailed off when I was putting the ridge up. And then once I do that, I'll put these on and then I'll move on down the line. Thought I'd bring you up here and show you what I'm doing. So once the rafters are nailed into place, I'm just taking these hurricane straps, rafter ties, whatever. And then there's a line that tells you, where to put the rafter tie in relation to the top plate. And then you can just nail it off, 5 nails on each end. Now I'm just using this DeWalt metal connector gun, which really beats the heck out of hand nailing. All these little tiny nails. They're shooting 1.5 inch galvanized metal connector nails that are designed specifically for this type thing. So line it up in the hole and fire. Simple.